All right, moving on to man. Second to last is I do want to talk in a way for just a few minutes. But going on to we found out who the undercard was for the Gervonta Tank Davis Hector Luis Garcia fight scheduled for January 7th, right here in our nation's capital. For those of y'all who don't know, I am from Boston originally, but I live in DC, and as you can tell by Randy's background at the Washington Monument, me and Randy are about 10 minutes from each other. And we're both about, Randy's probably 5 minutes from the Capital One Arena. I'm probably about 10 to 12 minutes from the Capital One Arena here in Suitland, Maryland, right around the corner from the Gary Russell. But yeah, we found out the undercard. And man, this undercard is loaded. Makes you wonder why Al Heyman hasn't been putting on fights like this for the last, 8 years, man. Go ahead. You were the one that texted the group, man. You were very excited about this this undercard.
Even though it's a shit fight, you know what I'm saying? But I think
what fight's a shit fight?
Let me build up.
Okay, go ahead.
But what it does for the area, like this whole DMV, the two Peterson boys are on the undercard. You know what I'm saying? Lamont and his brother. You know, we haven't seen them in years, but to casual boxing fans, you be like, man, he been washed up, Spence washed him up or whatever. But here for the area, man, he's like a living legend. Those boys are like living legends, man. So they're gonna bring out the Maryland side, you know what I'm saying, folks from Baltimore. They're gonna bring them out. And then the rest of the cats, man, Tank has slowly proven to be the face, pretty much the face of East Coast boxing. He sold out all the way from Atlanta, all the way up. He fought in.
He sold out Staples too, if I'm not mistaken.
So and then he ran the West Coast too. So Tank is a huge draw. A huge draw. So I'm so excited, man, for this fight January 7th, man. And then like what we mentioned, man, he just brought everybody from the East Coast. And then
the whole 95 quarter, didn't he?
The whole way from Lynn, Massachusetts. One of the biggest stories that I'm sure I'm surprised Boston didn't jump on first is him bringing out Andrade to the PBC and putting them on the card, man. I think that's love right there.
Yeah, I'm not sure. Look, to be fair, I don't know. I don't know what say Tank Davis had in any of this. I mean, I believe at that press conference, Tank Davis said something to the effect of, I had no idea that it was going to be this many people, this many names on his card. And he said he felt like he was back in the amateurs. And I'm assuming what he meant was being around all these high-level dudes, having all these high-level dudes all on one card, man. Did you get a ticket? Are you gonna fucking duct tape some magazines to your chest and fucking show up to that fight, or what?
I'm going, man. I'm
holy shit.
I'm hood fabulous. I'm surprised you ain't gonna go, man, to go see your boy Andrade.
Yeah, not for the price they wanted. And I was. A little birdie did tell me that he had signed over there. And I had an idea that he was going to pop up on this card, but I was asked to keep that shit to myself. But not for the price points. I mean, Dave was talking about like $300 for the remaining. Yeah, nah. Maybe if there was some better fights, if Boots was fighting a better competition, if Andrade was fighting somebody a little bit more reputable, no disrespect to Damon Nicholson, who we're gonna hopefully have on the show here, maybe. I just not for me. And I already know, Ray, you know it's gonna be crazy as fucking there. It's gonna be crazy. I don't want to do all them Baltimore niggas gonna be there. There'll be Philly niggas who I'm sure that's a bad mix.
It's gonna be love.
Let's not get too much into that. I don't want to discourage anybody from showing up. Look, if you want, if you want to show up,
I want to start with Andrade.
Okay.
and the ramifications of him coming over, going over to PBC, and what's that going to look like for what at 168? Who
168. 168. He is done with 160.
Now, you know what I'm saying? He coming in fresh, calling them out. He was like, "Look, man, we all in the same house now." He already said, he was like, "Yo, we ain't no need to sit there waiting for Canelo. He ain't.
That's right.
Us. Let's go ahead and let's get this money."
Yeah, and I can think of one person who probably wasn't very happy at all
but
he ended up over there.
But I think Plant. Only person that responded was Plant. Plant was like, "Look, man, we've been calling you out. We ain't heard from you, and you know what I'm saying. We
look.
He said right after the Canelo fight, he was like, man, my people was trying to get out all y'all. Ain't nobody yell my name, so don't be yelling my name now."
Okay, I'm not on Twitter. Damn, I should probably get on Twitter now that we got this platform and shit, so I can follow this shit. Look, I happen to know that Demetrius and Plant have been in the ring before, albeit with 18s and headgear on. And I can tell you right now, based on what I heard, that shit did not go well for Caleb Plant. But look, I'm man, I was happy as hell, man. I was excited that when I got the news. And I'm happy to see that at this, because despite people make a huge deal about his age sometimes and his inactivity, he's the same age as Terrence Crawford. He's only a couple years older than guys like Errol Spence and those guys. This kid has still got a whole heck of a lot left in the tank, man. And there are fighters, guys like Andre Ward come to mind, who, to me, didn't have the most significant fights of their careers until the latter part of their career. There's still so much time for Demetrius Andrade to get significant fights. And let me tell you something, man. The guys who he potentially is going to be in there with are guys who are going to push him to max out his ability. And I'm telling you right now, those guys might not be happy that they are getting Demetrius Andrade to max out his ability. There's nothing in the boxing ring that this guy can't do. He's one of the most celebrated amateurs in the history of American amateur boxing. He was fighting high level. He was fighting the best fight. When I get into these discussions with these Charlo fans and these other fans, I always tell them, Jamal Charlo was trying out for the football team and making beats or whatever the fuck he was doing when Demetrius Andrade was fighting the best amateur fighters in the world at age 15 and 16. So I'm happy for him, man. I was so excited when I heard the news, and I wanted to, but again, I was told in confidence to keep that shit to myself. How do you think that fight plays out? Damon Nicholson, the only fight I have seen of Damon Nicholson was the Berlanga fight, where I believe he went the distance with Berlanga, but got knocked down several times. Is that, as I pull up BoxRec here, is that accurate? I hope that's accurate. I want to just make up some bullshit.
Nicholson is, man, but Andrade been
out. Damon Nicholson, who's a local, by the way, who's from Lowell, Maryland, which is about 20 minutes.
But Andrade been out the ring so long that I don't see anybody like his handlers throwing him in with anybody that's a live fish.
Right. And so I'm pulling up. Yes. So Damon Nicholson, he was the first guy to take Edgar Berlanga the distance. Berlanga had been on this 1-round knockout streak for like 10 or 15 fights. And Nicholson takes him the 8th. And I was mistaken. Nicholson never went down in that fight. Lost what looks like a lopsided fight, although I have a lot of questions about those scorecards. I'm going to have to go back and watch and rescore that fight. So this is a good get right fight for Demetrius against a guy who you can't take too lightly, right? This is his first fight at 168 pounds. Damon Nicholson has been at 168 pounds for his entire career, right? I take that back. I saw him. He fought at 160 pounds against Emmanuel Alim back in 2016. So this is a guy who's also coming up into the weight class, although he's been up there for some time now, longer than Demetrius. He's settled in the division. And he's also a guy that when he wins, he usually knocks guys out. He's got 26 wins, 22 of those coming by way of knockout. He's 6 feet tall with a 73-inch reach. His frame is not quite as big as Demetrius. I've been pretty close to Demetrius. He's got a big frame on him. I haven't seen him since he was younger, but really, really long arms. And Demetrius is very, very close to 6'3". 6'2" maybe, but yeah. But you haven't seen much of Demond Nicholson, Randy. You don't have any predictions.
Man, I'd rather probably wipe him.
I don't.
But the backstory I'm more interested in, man. Like you said, like with the rest of them at 168. So I think the main person, your main protagonist, antagonist, or whatever it was that you want to go after is Charlo, and I think he did a disservice to himself by calling out Bivol at 168 or however he wanted to fight him, because right now he has a built-in excuse. I don't know why he never tried to do it, but he should try to clear out the 160 division as much as he can. And even I don't know how much lip service it was, but even Munguia was like turned down the Genovic fight so he can say he wanted Charlo or Triple G early next year. And then, but Charlo can go across 160 and try to get all them belts before moving up to 168. Because of right now, if he just move up to 168, there's a lot of dogs waiting to whoop his ass.
There certainly are. And look, if I could figure out what Jamal Charlo, what goes on in that mind of his,
we'll be millionaires.
Right. If I had that power and shit, right? Yeah, but yeah. Look, at the end of the day, Jamal Charlo is going to do whatever the hell Al Heyman tells him to do, just like the rest of those guys, just like Demetrius Andrade is going to do what the fuck Al Heyman tells him to do at this point. And if Al Heyman tells Jamal Charlo, go ahead.
It was easier when Jamal Charlo's staying put at 160 and not try to jump at 168 to keep him from Benavidez, which was in the same camp. But to be honest, Benavidez need to be fighting at 175.
Yes. But Al has no inventory at 175 pounds for Benavidez, so he's going to be on Weight Watchers for the next year.
Now, with Andrade at 168 and Charlo talking about he trying to move up to 168, that's a fight that I'm sure Al is tired of. You know what I'm saying? There ain't no need to protect somebody that ain't fighting. You ain't making no money when that
you hit the nail on the head, Randy. And I think that this last favor he did Jamal Charlo, and I do believe it is the last favor he did for Jamal Charlo, and keeping Carlos Adames away from him. Because remember, Adames, who is the number one, if I'm not mistaken, in the WBC, went to the convention, and I believe his people petitioned.
He's the I guess he's the junior WBC, the lesser WBC champion.
Oh, he's the Reggie. He's got the Reggie belt, so he's not the number one. He has the same position that David Morrell has in the WBA. He's got the regular version of the belt. So Adames is technically a title holder, and Mauricio Suleiman, and speculation on my part at the behest of Al Heyman, did not choose to call the mandatory for Charlo versus Adames, citing claiming that Jamal Charlo was still in fact injured. He didn't look very injured to me at the Regis Prograis fight, but who knows, right? Maybe he is still injured. But this is it for Jamal Charlo. You're right, Randy, because what's the point in protecting a guy who doesn't make money for you, right? This is a guy who had a fight scheduled in his backyard against Maciej Seletsky. And fuck what you read on Boxing Scene, fuck what you hear on YouTube. That fight got canceled because nobody was buying tickets to see the fight, right? So at this point, yeah, you I don't want to say throw him to the wolves, but that's exactly what's going to have to happen. He's going to get thrown to the fucking wolves. He might get one feel-good fight, acclamation fight up at 168 pounds, and then it's probably going to be Andrade. And pray to the boxing gods. We get Andrade Charlo on a Crawford Spence undercard. Rashidi Ellis, Jaron Ennis, Charlo, Andrade. You said what?
That's a main event card, not pay-per-view.
No, it's not. Jamal Charlo don't move the needle, and God bless him and keep him. Those are my people up there in Providence. Andrade don't move the needle outside Providence, right? So how do you maximize their financial power? You use them to bolster an existing card. You put Terrence Crawford, Errol Spence as your main event, and you have Charlo Andrade as your co-main potentially. That's $100 fight. Easy. Yeah. Easily you charge $100 for that fight, and motherfuckers are already gonna pay the shit for Spence Crawford. Imagine if you get Charlo Andrade on that undercard. That's crazy. That's a huge fight card. And then you throw Jaron Ennis and Rashidi Ellis on there. You throw Frank Martin maybe versus Chris Colbert maybe on there too.
Colbert.
I mean,
put that ass with it.
Man, but again, yeah. And networks are going to be set. The demand for that's going to be a high demand card. So depending on what Al Heyman and PBC's network deal situation, because all that stuff is not to, we're getting some chopping up good boxing talk here, not to go into the realm of private sector and business. The Paramount acquisition of Showtime is still looming, right? We don't know if Paramount is going to do away with Showtime, right? So if that happens sometime in January, now you can take that fight card and shop it to a Fox, or you shop it to, I don't know who else you shop that to aside from Fox, honestly. I think I don't know what Al's relationship is with these other networks at this point. He can't go to ESPN, and I don't know that Paramount wants to be in the boxing business, so we'll have to see. Maybe you go back to HBO for a one-off. I don't know. But the timing of this fight card, it really, really sets up for the possibility of a super fight card in the spring. Right? Because Canelo Alvarez versus fucking what's my man's name? John Ryder. Yeah. Nobody's gonna give a flying fuck. So much so that they will probably have to do that fight in the UK.
Yeah, and it will be talking about it. They're already talking about it being in the UK.
The time difference is going to be such that it won't matter anyway. So Canelo can fight on Cinco de Mayo, and you can do this super fight also on Cinco de Mayo. You can do it on the same motherfucking day. Canelo's going to be on at 4 o'clock in the afternoon, 5 o'clock in the afternoon, Eastern Standard Time. And you roll out Bud. You want to stick it to Canelo. And speaking of Canelo, not to switch subjects too drastically, what do you think about the idea that the Andrade acquisition, well, maybe that's probably too much speculation. Do you think PBC is looking to freeze him out at 168?
Freeze who out?
Canelo. Because if you look at the roster and you look at the guys who are out there right now at 168 pounds, well, for starters, Canelo has all the belts.
Yeah,
So if people listening might be like, how the fuck are you gonna freeze out the undisputed champ? Well, it's easy. You leave him, not maybe, and maybe freeze out is the wrong word. Maybe I should be saying force Canelo's hand.
Just to give up the belts. We've talked about
either give up the belts or you sign a 3-fight deal. Either give up the belts or you sign a 3-fight deal.
Why would I sign a 3-fight deal where I can just give up these belts and then fight, pick and choose, and I'm still gonna the zone's still gonna pay me what I'm asking for to fight the bullshit fights?
They're not. I can tell you right now, the zone ain't paying this dude.
He got 2 more fights. He got 2 more $40 million fights.
I believe he's got one $40 million fight, maybe. I don't think it's this John Ryder fight.
They're gonna give him money for the Ryder fight. Because he only on the think about it, he's only on the contract with the zone for 1 fight.
He got 1 more fight left.
So they're trying to milk 2 because he said that
Where'd you hear that?
What's the name? The head of fucking
Did Eddie Hearn come out and say that?
Eddie Hearn was saying it. So that's what he was the one who was saying that the fight was going to be in the UK. It's a 1-fight deal, but he's trying to do 2 fights. He said he was going to do the Brit in May, and then the Bebo in like September.
They ain't fighting Bebo. And if I'm Canelo's team, you said what?
I don't think he's fighting Bebo either, but he shouldn't box himself in. If he just relinquished the belts, he could still pick and choose fighters and then retire.
Well, and that's what it looked like he may have to do because, and I've been saying this on this show for a while now, I'm telling you, I don't think he wants any part of Benavidez. I don't think he wants any part of Demetrius Andrade. I don't think he wants any parts of David Morrell. So what does that leave you with? And we're going to pivot back to the actual card once I make this last point. The Edgar Berlanga fight is a fight that oozes financial potential. It's an easy fight for Canelo Alvarez. Very, very little danger now that we've seen the real Edgar Berlanga, right? Very, very little danger. And it's a fight that I'm sure the people at ESPN would be happy to do a one-off with Edgar Berlanga and Canelo Alvarez and throw a few more guys on there. I don't see him going to PBC to fight those guys. It's too much danger, and danger is not what this guy does, in my opinion. But pivoting back, let's get off of the Canelo Alvarez. It was sort of kind of related because what happens with Andrade and the other guys at 168 pounds is relevant to Canelo, at least on the periphery. But getting back to this card, and let's jump right to the main event here because we spent a lot of time on Demetrius. I think it was warranted. The Jaron Ennis fight, I don't want to spend too much time on it. I think the Jaron Ennis fight is really just a waste of time against a guy in Karen Chakatsian.
He's a top.
Go ahead, make your case for why people should care about this fight. I'm not going to say anything at all.
Fight, and the dude is a top 5 in the WBA, I believe.
Is he now?
He's top 5 in one of these jokers. He's number 4 in the IBS.
Hold on 1 second, Randy. Let's do it. Let's do a brief editing pause. And my mother's calling me. I'll make sure this shit's not important. Hello.
No, I was saying that he is a top 4 in the IBF, and then I knew that because I argued with the Bud Crawford fans that support the Avanesian fight but talk shit on this Boots fight. So I'm like, this guy's ranked number 4. Avanesian.
He is. 6. Holy shit! Yeah, I've never even fucking heard of this guy. So
hey, what's good for the Goose? And then I support the Boots because Boots don't even have a belt. So and he's top fighting a top 5. Bud is supposedly the #1 pound for pound fighter in the world, fight #6. So
fair enough. Fair enough. And I will say, and I believe this is out there in the boxing ether. I think it's been reported on reputable shows. I know for a fact that they came to Rashidi Ellis and that team and talked to them about the Ennis fight, and they weren't happy with one. They weren't happy allegedly here. They weren't happy with the money they were offered for that fight. One, and they were also concerned that Rashidi, due to his inactivity, I mean, 1 round boxed over the last almost 2 years was not enough to have him ready to go against an opponent the caliber of Jaron Ennis. So, hey, look, fair enough. You made a valid point there. He is #4 in the IBF. The #2 guy, according to the boxing scene, is not rated. Virgil Ortiz is ranked 3 and is looking to fight Stanionis, who, Jesus Christ, Stanionis got dropped out the rankings, huh?
Nah, because he's a champion in the WBA.
Oh, he's a champion in the WBA. No, you're right. Okay, so there we go. All right, so Stanionis is going to fight Virgil Ortiz, and yeah, not that fight was ever going to be viable, right? They're not throwing those guys in there together at this point. All right, so you made your case for that point. I'm not gonna argue for that. I kind of already said my piece on that fight. Moving along to, we'll talk briefly about the Hector Luis Garcia fight versus Tank, because we've touched on this in prior shows. Is there anything you want to add regarding Tank Hector Luis Garcia that you haven't already haven't said on last week's show? Now that we saw the guys face off,
this definitely a dangerous fight for Tank, man. This isn't no walk in the park, man. So everybody think that this is just a filler fight so he can get the Ryan Garcia. I think this fight right here is more dangerous than the Ryan Garcia fight.
I agree. And we're not going to add any more as far as the fight goes. We talked about that on a previous show. We did get, if we didn't have it before, if there was any doubt, TMT, Floyd Mayweather, Leonard Ellerbe, and Gervonta Tank Davis are no longer affiliated with one another, right? We know that now beyond a shadow of a doubt. Tank has opted to move on. It was official last week. I don't know that it makes it any more official now that he's done a press conference without them, but yeah.
Off of that, I think what comes out of this is good for boxing, because with this, Tank said he knows what he wants to do in his next life. He said he's not going to be boxing too much more, and he said he wants to put on the top fights, the fights he have remaining. He want them to be the ones that count. So he said he's not capping when he calling out Haney, the Shakur Stevens, and so forth. So time will tell after this Ryan Garcia fight, man. If he step up, I don't know about Haney. I think Haney might be too big by that time, but Shakur and a couple of these other guys at 135, running around 135 that want to get it. I think he's truthful. I think he said he probably got 3-4 more fights in him, and then he wants going to the promoter route. It seems like so.
so bizarre. A little bit troubling to me if I'm Team Tank Davis or Calvin Ford or any of those guys, and my guy is outwardly talking about retirement at 29 years old. But I don't want to make too much about that now. The fact that the young man's got a plan after boxing, I think that should be applauded. I just, like Master Yoda said, man, you got to be in the here. You got to be in the here and the now, man. Especially if you're going into these dangerous fights. I don't want I think any mind on retirement at all.
I think that him now is what putting his head that way. I think he's probably promoting this fight, his own fight now. And
is he? I'm not sure.
I think he may be, because all I see is that
GT promotions or whatever it is.
Promotion all over the place. So I think he's at least co-promoting this fight, and he's seeing the benefits and learning ropes while he's training. So yeah, he might be his mind might be elsewhere when it need to be training is yet to be seen. But I think the here and now shows him that, look, man, the promotion side is probably where he wants to be. And hey, if he can walk into the sunset a champion and then go do that, man, the best go on do it.
Anyway, hey, we out, man. This casual rant. I'm Boston Jared. Mash the like button, man.
Yeah, man.
Mash the like button, man.
Leave comments, man. Tell us where we wrong, where you think we were wrong, and we're gonna respond when we back right. All right, peace.
Peace out, guys.